Hi everyone! My name is Catherine and welcome back to my channel. On this channel you'll find videos all about blindness and visual impairments and what it's like to live with a visual impairment, as well as exploring hobbies and fun activities that I like doing as a woman with a visual impairment that I don't really see other people really talking about in the same way. In today's video, I'm going to talk a lot about body language. If you saw my last video, which I will link above in the cards, I talked a lot about how I personally am sort of living between worlds. I have just enough eyesight to be dangerous. I have just enough eyesight to confuse people and sometimes even really confuse myself. But I don't have enough to really be considered fully sighted. And there are a lot of things that I miss, a lot of things that I just don't get, don't see. I'm legally blind. I'm blind enough to be working with a guide dog. So there's a lot that I miss, and in many ways I am very much not sighted at all. And yet in other ways, just because of the unique way in which my eyes work, it gets confusing. And if you take nothing else away from this channel, especially if you happen to be someone who has normal eyesight, please understand that just because someone works with a guide dog, or because someone uses a white cane, or because someone tells you that they're blind or visually impaired, doesn't mean that they don't see anything. And conversely, just because I can sit down at a restaurant and pick up the printed menu and read it, doesn't mean that I don't still need my guide dog and that I don't still have a lot of trouble in many other aspects of life. So, you know, it's very confusing. Eyes are very complicated, and it's just something that that varies dramatically from person to person. So on that note, let's talk a little bit about body language. I've been told that most communication happens through body language, and so it's a very interesting position to be in when you not only don't read it, but don't even really have a frame of reference for interpreting body language in many different ways, because I've never seen the vast majority of how people communicate through their bodies and through that body language. So what I tend to rely on more is the sound of someone's voice, the tone of voice that they speak in. I do get some bits of body language. I've mentioned before that I can see a big smile or a frown. I can see if someone's kind of hunched over or if they're sitting or standing tall. I can see those kinds of things, but it's the more subtle aspects that I really don't understand and I don't perceive. I don't even know what a twinkle in someone's eye means. I have absolutely no idea. That is something I hear so much, and I understand it to mean that, you know, they're joking or that they are jolly or jovial or something along those lines. But I have absolutely no idea what it actually looks like. No clue. So I couldn't tell that someone has a twinkle in their eye. I know what it means when I hear it because I've read a lot, and I've had friends and family, you know, kind of say, oh yeah, their eyes are twinkling or something like that. So I have an idea of what it means. I have some idea that, you know, it's a positive thing, but I don't actually know what it looks like. So I could not identify it on my own at all. I don't really understand a lot of the nuances between different forms of smiles. You know, I can understand a smile and typically a smile means happy or joking. But I don't necessarily understand the difference between a cunning smile or a sly smile or a flirty smile or just a really friendly, happy smile. I don't know the difference between those things. So while I can see that you're smiling, and I assume from that smile that you're happy, you might be giving me kind of a conspiratorial, clever, like, yeah. Or you might be, giving me like a flirtatious smile. And I have absolutely no idea. None whatsoever. All I know is that you're smiling. And I assume from that smile that it means you're happy. And depending on the social situation that we're in, I might also assume that it means you're friendly. That's about it. If I even see you at all, because that's a whole nother thing that, again, I've discussed. People are difficult to deal with. Crowds are difficult to deal with. And so if we're in a crowded room and you're on the other side of the room, I may not even see you. So you could be smiling at me all day, all day long. And I'd have no idea because I wouldn't even know you were there. So there's a lot about this that makes it very complicated. And again, because I do have enough eyesight that I don't typically present as blind, it makes it very difficult for people, especially people who don't know me well, to recognize that I'm not ignoring you, that I'm not being deliberately snooty or rude or anything of the sort. I just don't see you. Or if I do see you, it might look like I'm looking at you, but I don't know that you're looking at me. I can't just lock eyes with someone across a room. I can't connect in that way with someone because I just don't have the eyesight to be able to do that. So today I'd like to talk about 3 things in relation to body language. First of all, I'm going to talk a little bit about how I perceive body language in others. Secondly, and related to the first one, I'm going to talk about what I miss when it comes to body language and interacting with others. And then thirdly, I'm going to talk about how I use body language myself, and in cases where I really can't use body language, kind of what I use as a substitute. Because I think we all do have other ways of adapting, and this is how I adapt when I can't use body language, which is most of the time, or when I can't understand body language from someone else. So this will be how I interpret it, how I perceive it for myself on my end, and how I then think about it in terms of actually using it with others. So the first topic is, what do I see when it comes to body language? And I've already discussed this in the intro, but I really see very little when it comes to body language. You might think that I'm reading your face and that I know that you're joking because, you have maybe a little twinkle in your eye, but if your voice is steady and very, very, very serious, I'm not picking up on that body language that tells me that you're joking. So what I see instead is perhaps a frown on a face, a very straight face, a face that is frowning. Depending on the face and how well I know that person, I might see furrowed brows. I might not. It depends on how well I know the person and how exaggerated that facial expression is. I really won't see much more than that. I may or may not, depending on how close we are physically, like how close or far away we are from each other, I may see a slump to the shoulders or shoulders back and straight. That's about all I've got. So I can see facial expressions that are very, very exaggerated. I can understand facial expressions that are really big eyes and and a mouth is like, oh, an O. I can understand and see big frown, just a big frown. And again, wide eyes, or eyes that are maybe furrowed, like your brow is furrowed. But I can't see what direction your eyes are looking in. I can see the tilt of someone's head, again, depending on how close or far away we are from each other. I can also see the position of someone's arms. So if your arms are crossed in front of you, and I know that typically this means someone is upset or skeptical or something of that sort, because I've been told that that's what this position means. I can see if your arms are open. I can see maybe if there's a table or some kind of surface in front of you. I can see if you're like leaning forward on that table. But again, this all also depends on how close or far away we are physically from one another. If we're really close to one another, I might not see that because I only have a 5-degree field of eyesight. I only have what's essentially right in front of my eyes. So, and if we're having a conversation, my eyes are focused more on your face than they are on the rest of your body. Because again, I've been told that that is the social norm to look at someone's eyes. And while I won't look directly in your eyes, for the majority, if not all of our conversation, because I've also been told that it's really awkward to just stare into someone's eyes. You know, I've also been told that I do appear to be making eye contact just because of the way my eyes move. And so I'm focused more on your face, which means if we're really close to each other, or even if we're as close to each other as my camera is from me right now, I'm not going to see the rest of that body language unless it impacts, again, your physical distance from me. If we're talking and you lean forward, I'm going to see that because your head's going to move along with the rest of your body. If we are talking with each other and you suddenly lean back or something of that sort, again, I'll see that because your head is moving. But in general, there's a lot about body language that I just don't see. So on to point number 2, what I miss. And what I miss is a lot. I mentioned in the intro that I cannot just lock eyes with someone from across a room. So I'm not going to get that connection. I'm not going to get that, oh, okay, that person is here and they saw me, I should go talk to them. I'm not going to understand that someone is joking if they have a very straight face, but a straight face and a very straight, serious voice, but their eyes are sparkling. I don't know what sparkling eyes look like. No clue. Couldn't tell you. Couldn't identify it if you paid me to. And that can cause problems in relationships, even relationships with people that I'm very close to. Even within my own family, sometimes that can cause problems because if you don't understand that I'm not getting it and that I'm really relying very heavily on the sound of your voice to tell me that you're joking, then that's going to lead to a lot of misunderstandings. I'm sure there have been times where someone may have wanted to talk to me and I just looked like I was completely ignoring them. And it's not that I was ignoring them, it was that I legitimately did not see them, or even if I did see them, I didn't see that they were making the, eye contact of, hey, come here, I want to talk to you, or, oh, hey, that's my friend over there and I should go talk to him or her or whomever, I should go chat. Let me make some eye contact back and, go over there and say hi. I don't get any of that. I just don't see it. So I don't see the more subtle signs. I really can't tell the difference between, again, unless it's really exaggerated, I can't tell the difference between a frown that is sad and a frown that is angry, or a frown that is upset or annoyed. Unless the rest of the facial features are dramatically exaggerated, almost to the point of being stylized. You know how some, like, you know, actors or dancers, especially for stage, will give these really big facial expressions. Unless they're stylized to that point, to where they're really big, which most people don't use unless they're feeling an incredibly strong emotion. Most people don't use that in like everyday conversation or interactions. But unless they're like that big, I'm just not going to notice. So I wouldn't notice, just like I wouldn't notice a twinkle in someone's eye, I'm not going to notice a sadness in someone's eyes either. You know, even if they sound upbeat and happy, I'm not going to notice a sadness there in the eyes. I'm just not. Because my eyes just don't work that way. I literally cannot see it. So that gets tricky. You know, there's a lot that I miss. I can watch two people interact even, you know, and it's something that I miss even in terms of watching other interactions with other people. I love to kind of stand on the sidelines or sit on the sidelines and like kind of enjoy being in crowds without actually having to participate in the crowds, if that makes any sense. But when I'm watching people, I'm not necessarily understanding what I'm seeing. And even if I'm seeing something, I'm probably not really seeing what is actually going on, because I'm not going to really understand the subtle changes when someone initiates a conversation with someone else and the second person is suddenly very uncomfortable, or perhaps the first person is very friendly and the second person is also friendly, but maybe doesn't necessarily want to continue the conversation. I don't really know what those cues look like. So even when I'm looking at other people interact, I don't necessarily know exactly what I'm seeing. So for me, moving into the third point, what I perceive from others comes more from their voices. I rely very heavily on other people's voices, on the way someone sounds. So if you're kidding and your voice sounds completely serious, I mean completely serious, even if I know you very, very well, I'm probably not going to pick up on that joke. And so it can make me come across as not really having a sense of humor, or not being able to take a joke, or not, you know, or just always being so serious. But unless I can hear something in your voice that tells me that you're joking, I'm not gonna understand that you're joking, because I don't see the subtle, very subtle signs that you're giving me that you're joking. And so it can make me come across as, you know, very serious and just, you know, no sense of humor, which isn't true at all of me. But I can't interact with someone in a joking manner if they sound completely serious, if they sound very angry or sound upset or hurt, unless there's something in their voice that tells me that they're not actually, and that they are actually joking, and they're solely relying on body language to communicate that with me. I'm just not going to get it. So I rely very, very heavily on voices. And I find this very interesting because when the pandemic really got going and, you know, people were staying home and doing everything through Zoom, one of the things that I heard talked about a lot was how people find Zoom incredibly exhausting, or any video chat of that sort, just very tiring to be doing it all day long. And I find it tiring too, but for a very different reason. I'm tired after a long day, and if I've had several Zoom meetings or anything of that sort, I'm tired more because I've been stuck in front of a screen for a very long time, and that means I'm probably stuck in one spot and not able to get up and move around and wander away and come back and all of that sort of thing. And what I found very interesting was that most people are exhausted by Zoom because they suddenly don't have lots of body language cues to go off of. And so they're having to work a lot harder to interact socially with their coworkers or their friends or their classmates or whomever in a way that I have to work all the time, whether we're in person or not. And so for me, there was very little difference moving, in terms of like interacting and learning body language. In that way, there's very little difference for me going to an online format as opposed to an in-person format, because I didn't read the body language anyway. I didn't get it anyway. So I'm a lot less exhausted in that way because this has just been my life forever. I've never relied on body language in that way, which I thought was very interesting then when I heard that people are, having to get used to that and are very tired by it because they're suddenly missing that body language. If you take that and extrapolate it, to your entire life and every single interaction you have with someone, if you imagine that basically, your entire life in terms of reading someone's body language is as if you were interacting with them online through Zoom or any other video chat feature. And that level of not having body language to rely on is how my entire life is. So for me, body language is not really useful. And yet, moving into the third point here, I do still use body language. And I think probably everyone does, to some extent, because it's just natural as a human. Just as you would naturally convey your feelings through words or sound of voice or anything of that sort, honestly, I think it's just natural as a human to then convey your feelings through body language as well. But for me, the way I express body language is slightly different. And I would be very interested to know how others perceive me. So if you're watching this and we're friends, I would love to know if this is actually accurate, because I don't actually know, but this is how I think of myself and how I feel like I portray myself through body language. I feel like a lot of times when I'm interacting face to face with people that I might smile or frown, as I've said. I'm sure I do show facial expressions that convey happiness, sadness, anger, all of the typical emotions. But in terms of consciously portraying body language, I don't think I do that very well in person. Like those conscious, yes, I am definitely going to make sure that I show that I am angry, or I show that I am sad, or I show that I'm really happy right now. I don't think I'm very good at consciously portraying those emotions through body language, because I don't really know what they look like, and I personally am afraid of coming off as weird or coming off as way too over the top. And so in person, I feel as though I may come off as rather flat, or perhaps even disengaged. And I don't know if that's true, but that's how I feel about it. Because of my job as an online ESL teacher, I have gotten very good at least through virtual, through virtual interactions, I've gotten very good at the exaggerated, very more stylized expressions of body language. You know, if I'm trying to teach my student the word happy and I can't show happy on my face, well, that's a problem. So I know how to show that emotion to use as a demonstration in a class, but what I don't know is how to do that in person without coming off as like really over the top or whoa, that's exaggerated. Because so much of our lives have kind of moved into online spaces and more virtual interactions. When I'm in a Zoom meeting, I would be more likely to use those same sort of very stylized, very big sort of movements and expressions as I would in my online classroom, because we're all on tiny screens and I have enough eyesight to recognize that the little boxes that show all the other meeting participants are on the small side, and so a subtle shift in body language isn't necessarily going to get someone else's attention. And especially when we all tend to be on mute unless you're actually speaking, sometimes then I will actually use bigger gestures, those more exaggerated, more stylized gestures, because I'm trying to get someone's attention, or because I want to show that I agree, or show that, yeah, you know, I get it, I understand. And I want to make sure that the person on the other end sees that. And I'm not sure that just a quick is going to convey that, yes, I definitely understand, when my microphone is not on. And so they can't hear me say, oh yeah, I get it, you know, and a quick thumbs up and little subtle nod of the head, I'm not convinced that that's going to be enough without the sound to go with that. So instead of unmuting myself and contributing to whatever chaos may or may not be going on in the meeting at that time, I will instead leave my microphone on mute and then just make really big double thumbs ups, huge smile, yeah, moving around, you know, just really making sure that if they're looking in my direction at all, that they're going to see that, yes, I absolutely get it, or I'm ready, or that's a great idea. I'm trying to convey that thought without speaking, without using my voice. And so for me, it's much more comfortable and it makes a lot more sense in an online interaction to make those big gestures and to make those really exaggerated facial expressions and to make it really big and, you know, I suppose visually loud, because I want to make sure that they see that I get it, or they see that, no, oh my gosh, no, that was awful, or I don't get it at all, or I disagree, or ooh, you're right, that would be a bad idea, you know. And so in that case, again, I'm using like very big movements, just like I would in my online classroom, to show never, you know, crossing my arms in front of me, shaking my head, never, you know, or big shakes of the head, say no, maybe even 2 thumbs down, depending on the extent of my agreement or disagreement with whatever they're saying. So when it comes to online interactions, I will use that larger, more exaggerated body language to make sure that I'm getting my point across, because things are different online, and I want to make sure that people understand without my having to unmute and then add to whatever chaos might be happening, especially when you consider that everyone's internet speeds are different, and so there's a certain amount of lag, and that, you know, everyone has noisy environments, and that, you know, I have a noisy dog at home who may or may not add her own amount of chaos into what may already be happening. And so it becomes a lot easier to just then not have the sound and just use that really big exaggerated expression. But I'm not going to do that in an in-person face-to-face interaction. I'm not going to do that at all, because I understand that that's exaggerated, and I understand that that is a technique for a specific way of interacting with people that is not necessarily a technique that's appropriate when interacting in person. But I don't really know the extent to which you can bring that up or bring it down when it comes to in-person interactions. And so I tend to come across as, I think, much softer, perhaps is a nice way to put it. Much flatter, I think, in some ways. Because I don't know how to really emote, I suppose, in that way in person. And as I said before, I really can't just meet someone's eyes and understand that, oh yes, we're going to interact, or oh, we're going to talk. And so those kinds of interactions, those kinds of connections really don't happen for me. And I hope it doesn't make people afraid to approach me. I really hope it doesn't discourage people or make them think that I don't want to interact, because I really often do. You know, if I'm in a room full of people and we're there for a social purpose, I want to interact. I want to say hello. You know, I want to see friends and greet them and find out how they're doing and how their families are and, you know, what's going on in their lives. But I don't really know how to initiate that, because I can't just use body language to say, oh, cool, I see you, hi, we'll talk later. I can't do that. And so I don't really know how that reads to other people. And again, especially to people who don't know me and don't know this particular detail about me, because I don't necessarily read as blind. I don't necessarily present as blind. If you don't know me, you wouldn't necessarily know that I couldn't do that, because I can read the more prominent, you know, more obvious body language features, as I've said, smiles, frowns, that kind of stuff. I can read those. And so because I can read those and I can see you and I can look you in the eye more or less when we're talking, and I can pull out a print book and go sit in the corner and read a normal sized print book. Or, you know, read the menu or read the sign for the number of the room that we're in. Because I can do those things and I don't necessarily present as blind, I don't think people really understand that about me if they don't know me well enough to know that. And so I think I can often come across as just maybe a little snooty, maybe a little stuck up, maybe you know, maybe shy. I don't really know, but I don't know. I don't really know how to finish that thought. I hope you understand. I hope it makes sense. I hope this video was helpful. If you're someone who also struggles to understand or read body language for whatever reason, I'd love to know how you deal with it and how you sort of get around that particular problem. If you do have normal eyesight and you can interact and use body language to the extent that most of society uses it, I would also love to hear your thoughts. What do you think of when you see someone who, you know, perhaps is like me, who can clearly see, but at the same time really isn't interacting with people, or can see and, you know, you think even perhaps looked right at you, but then, you know, proceeds to completely ignore you. I'd love to know what you think. Is that something that you then say, oh, well, I'm not going to go talk to them? Or is that something that you say, I wonder if maybe they didn't see me? So that's all I have for today. If you liked this video, please give it a big thumbs up. It really helps me to know what you like in terms of my content and my videos. And it helps me in the YouTube algorithm also. Perhaps someday this channel will get big enough for YouTube to actually notice. But until then, if you guys can just please continue giving thumbs up to videos that you like, I would very much appreciate just having a better sense of what you want from me and what you like seeing. If you want to see more videos like this, please hit the subscribe button so that you can see my videos when they come out, and also hit the notification bell if you would like YouTube to tell you when I upload new content. That would be amazing. And I hope you all have a fantastic day, a fantastic week, and until next time, I'll see ya. Bye.